That'll tell your age. They all work with my mom. Really nice, really nice. Come on.
I'm just going to pray. Good evening, everyone. Okay, before we pray, we want you to try to come as close as possible, please, so that we can all be as close as possible inside here. All right? Well, so I'm going to stand, and while we stand, let's invite us to stand so we can pray, and we get going. Shall we pray? Our Father and our God, we thank you for this day, and we thank you for this evening, that we can come together in this time and in this place to talk about preparing ourselves to deal with life and life's issues, life's challenges. God, we thank you tonight for our presenters who are here with us. And so, God, we invite your presence into this place, that everything that is said and done will bring honor and glory to your name. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. You may be seated. Good evening to everyone again. I know I said we weren't going to stream it, but I decided otherwise. So we are streaming. So good evening to those who are also on our social media platforms. And welcome to this evening, this time of sharing, as we seek to prepare for the upcoming hurricane season. I will confess to you that about 2 weeks ago, I went to I was invited to a meeting in which I saw this presentation happening. And I said, I think this would be a good thing for us to experience here at Friedensberg. And so I made contact, and so here we are. Because I think it's really good information. And as much as some of the things you might have heard before, some of the things, it's always good to hear it one more time. And so we are here this evening, and I want to welcome our presenters this evening, Ms. Delia Richardson, who is the Executive Director of Community Engagement, and Aaron Van Doren, the Preparedness Division of the Fema Integration Team. And so we want to welcome them to Friedensberg. We have a song we would normally sing, but we're going to sing it for you tonight. But the song just simply says, we welcome you to Friedensberg. You're welcome in this place where you are loved in Jesus' name. Welcome in this place. And so let's welcome our presenters tonight. And without much further ado, and I'm not sure who you are, but I presume that you're a part of the team as well.
Tracy.
You're Tracy.
And Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Oh,
yes, Tracy and Gabriel in the back. We want to, you two are welcome to Friedensberg. You are welcome in this space. We love you in Jesus' name, and welcome in this space. And so without much further ado, over to you, Delia and Aaron.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. It's an honor to be here with you this evening. And I thank the shepherd of this house, Reverend Francis, for inviting us in. My partner, Aaron Van Doren, Tracy, and my husband, who is my protector, my guard. He's everywhere with me, Gabriel Richardson, right? It's good to do this work, but we need partnerships to help you, right? And so it's an honor for us to be in the house with you tonight. Well, we are going to share with you, some of you may have heard it. You may have read it in the newspaper. You may have seen a clipping somewhere. But if I said to you, how many of you were here for 2017 when Maria came through? How many of you would raise your hand? How many of you were here? You were here for Maria when it hit St. Croix. If I said to you in one word, what was the experience like? What would you say to me? Call it off back in here. Where is that coming from? Horrible, one. Terrible, two. Devastating, three. Anyone else? all you are knowing is you're cold because it's wet, and you're just like, I need for sunlight to come up so we can come outside. Because the wind was no joke. And when we came outside that morning, my husband and I, in that subdivision, it was the only roof that went in the subdivision where we lived. So the neighbors came out, and you know how you don't know how to say hi to somebody? Because they have problems and you don't? And they like that. And we're standing here, and in my mind I'm waving back, but I'm saying, what happened to their house? Because everything for us is in their yards. The roof, the galvanized off the roof, messed up the gentleman's brand new truck next door. Couldn't help that. It was the storm. You're grabbing, what do you call it, tarp from somebody just to put it over because you don't know where you're going to stay that night, right? So it was a devastating experience. So to be in line with people getting ice and people getting groceries, 2 hours to get gas, getting to your ATM machine, only for the ATM to say, we don't have any more money, it's out. You go to Plaza, the grocery store, the doors are finally open, they say, nobody accepted debit cards. You need to have cash. How many of us knew to take cash and have it with you? You're not thinking that. Irma had hit St. Thomas, so you're thinking if Maria passes, just some rain. We're understanding, family, that we're past storm 1 and 2 categories. We're up now 5 and 6. You know, I heard Aaron say one time, it's not if it's going to happen. The question is when. And that is so true. Because now we have to, it's no longer of, I'm preparing for hurricane season. Hurricane season in preparation now becomes what? A lifestyle. Because anything can happen at any given time. And we say yes, but if I said to you, tell me how much cases of water you have in your house right now. Right? If I said to you, tell me the flashlights, tell me how many batteries, tell me how much cash you have stowed away somewhere. If I said to you, do you have copies of your deed and your documents and everything, you would be like, oh, I didn't know about that. So that's the purpose of Aaron and I being here tonight. We're not here to talk at you. We're here to have a real-life conversation with you. Because this is your life. And it is no longer about, I think I'm ready. It's about being resilient. Everybody thinks resiliency is after it has happened, how quick we bounce back. Part of resiliency is preparing before it comes. That helps you to bounce back. See that?
We have a saying, too, that resiliency is preparation and mitigation. And that's actually what equals resiliency.
There you go. Mitigation. Learning how to eliminate what? Risk. Because how many of you feel vulnerable right now? Like after thank you for being honest. It's like I live feeling vulnerable. Like I don't know what's next. So you're going to hear us presenting to you this evening real life. No makeup, not what we think. We didn't read it in a book. We experienced it, right? But I am passionate about getting out to our community and sharing it because before I came into this role, when they called me, I asked them. The board had to interview me, but I interviewed them. And I said, a lot of things that are happening in our community, who's doing it? What do you mean? Who's educating people about being prepared? Guess that's you. Because you could read something in a newspaper, but unless you connect with it, does it make much difference to you? No, it's in a newspaper, right? So from 2019 until today, I have been sold out to getting out into our communities and educating our clientele. You are our family. You are our communities. And now I have Aaron Van Doren, who partners with us from Fema, that adds value to what we're doing, right? So you're going to hear a lot of different things we learned from environmentalists, things to tell you to look out for, nutritionists, things we learned about that, and we're partnering together to add value to you that by the time you leave out here tonight, it would be time very well spent. Fair enough? Aaron?
So, she always has the best intros. It's really hard to follow this. But no, that's exactly it. So, we all live here. We know what we face, but really when it comes down to it, it's have we taken the actual necessary steps to make sure that either the bad things that happened in the past don't happen again, or we've safeguarded ourselves to make sure that they don't. And a lot of that is really going in prior to hurricane season, even during hurricane season, and making sure that you and your family and your loved ones and your friends are ready for anything that happens. And it's not just hurricanes either. So, I mean, look, what, 3-4 days ago, there was a 5.4 earthquake just north of St. Thomas. So it's all disasters, and preparing for one helps you prepare for all of them. But the first step of it is actually preparing. So that's what we're coming here and trying to work with everybody and help everybody to see the value in doing this, and not just have it as a lofty goal in your head, but like taking the inventory of personally, what do we need to do for my household? For my friends, what plans do we have to make to actually make sure that whenever bad things happen, we are more ready for them? So she did steal my line, it's not if, but it is when. So
Yeah.
like I grew up in Florida. 1 year we have 1 hurricane, next year we have 2, next year we have 0. Then all of a sudden we get 3 in like a couple of months. So it's like, it's not a matter of when we're gonna, or if we're gonna get hit, but it's just a fact of life. And then now, like, it just seems like it keep increasing in number and intensity, so where we have to take this even more seriously. So that's what we're here today to help everybody and to work with you guys. So with that, I guess we can get started.
All right. You see the title up here. Disaster preparedness is what? What does that say? Can you talk to me? Make me feel like you like me. Right? Personal, right? And disaster preparedness is who? Because we have personal work to do in our house, but collectively as a community, if I know something that my friend here doesn't know, wouldn't I want to share it if I know it's going to add value to him? Absolutely, right? Be prepared to be your own first responder. Pause. You caught it. Just think right now. How long does it take ambulances to get somewhere? And we right here in St. Croix. Tell the truth. He said, if they get there, right? So if that's in blue skies, imagine in the time of a storm. They're EMTs, but they have families too. Yes or no? We want them to come to us, but they have families too. They have stuff going on too, right? So sometimes you might want them to get to you. They're not able to get there as fast. Exactly. He said, and if something happens and you have debris all over the place, they can't even get to you. But if I understand that if I prepare to be my own first responder, then guess what? I might not be as reliant on that. I may still need them to come, but I'm not as fearful because I have some things in place, right? So here's what we're going to talk about. Family risk evaluation. I don't want you to just breeze over these questions. I want you to take it personal, right? What risk do we face when we are not prepared? Call it out for me. What risk, Ms. Green? What am I opening myself to when I'm not prepared? Tell me. Danger. I'm not prepared. I'm opening myself to danger. My friend, what am I opening myself to when I'm not prepared? Oh my goodness. Thank you for saying that. What did she say? Dehydration? Because everybody think it happens only to children. No, it doesn't. It happens to adults too, right? Dehydration, thank you. Danger, dehydration. Anybody else? I promise I won't bite you. Say that again. Stress. How many of you know what stress is? Raise your hand for me. You know what stress is. Mm-hmm. She was like, right here. Right? What did you say? Stress kills, though. Do you know how high the stress levels in people went after Maria? Including young adults. If we give you some of the statistics, which I decided I'm going to start doing, it'll be very alarming to you. It's not just in adults, it's in children. Do you know how many more adults are now on pressure pills than ever before? It's not just adults, it's children. Sugar levels, diabetes. It's not just adults. Do you know how much it has risen in children? This is not a game. This is serious. So when we talk about risks that we face not being prepared, she said danger, dehydration, stress. Here's the other one. How long could you survive on what you have now? When the governor shut down the island because of the pandemic, before he did that, how many of you went to the grocery store and I mean you stocked up your house? Because pandemic, so nobody coming out. Tell the truth. You didn't want nobody to see you because you don't want to ask for noodles, but you did. There you go. Okay, pandemic has been running now for how long? 2.5? About 2.5? Yeah. How many of you used the supplies you bought? Yeah, all of us did. But guess what? Because we're in blue skies, how many of you started replenishing what you use and putting back? See that? Not everybody. Because here is what we say, the pandemic is passing. Yes? Smart. Because we have to stay what? Prepared, right? How long could you survive without going to the store for food, supplies? Here's the big one, medication. How long, if you are on medication, the doctor only gives you a certain amount. Pharmacy. So if storm is coming, what backup plan do you have with your physician to say, if a storm is coming, listen, I need to at least get 3 months of supply, because when it's down, yes, we have telemedicine, but if you don't have electricity, you ain't telemedicine nobody. Right or wrong? The pharmacy is down, and you're in a long line waiting to get medication. We on an island where no trucks are coming here. Everything is imported. See in the big picture? Right? Are you prepared to survive a long power outage? Now, can I tell you all the truth? We have, his name is Uncle Whopper. Y'all know Uncle Whopper? Does he not shut down in blue skies just because? How many of you, your electricity just goes and there is no reason why it went? Tell the truth. Come on, y'all. It happens to all of us, whether you have in a meeting or not. Hear what she said, as soon as it drizzle it off. So think about this. If I lose electricity so easy in blue skies, am I prepared to survive a long power outage? Maybe you say, Dee, I don't have money to buy a $500 generator. But did you know there are also solar generators now for less than that? And it doesn't make a whole lot of noise, so your neighbor is not going to call the cops on you, right? And it's going to help you at least keep your refrigerator and some lights on, even if it doesn't do the... Did you all know about that? So we're going to talk to you, see? No, what, really? They have that? So aren't you glad we came? Because we're going to talk to you about that, right? And then what are our resources? We live here in the territory. Everybody says, and I'm going to pick on my friend, everybody says, FEMA going to come and rescue us. They coming. Right? Or Red Cross. Go to Red Cross. They have water and food. The government gonna give you water, and they're gonna have some places for you to go and get some water, and sometimes some military food that you're not gonna eat. We often talk about those resources But do you know those resources need help too? And we rely so much on the government because government is for community, but we are the community. So why aren't we preparing? That we don't have to depend on the government. That will be extra, but that's not my main source. Is everybody with me? And we're going to get to a part where Aaron is going to explain to you when we get there the role that FEMA really plays. Because the misconception is here in the territory. Because they don't understand. So if I paused right here, did that give you something to think about? Those questions. Yeah. Look at this. Anybody remember that? Who knows where this is? Say it again. Yes. That's right down the street. That's right down there. Where is this? Right off the, you know where the airport road is? What over there? Evergreen? Infield, whatever it is? Where is this? Christian said, none of y'all in Christian said? This is Christian said town, by the library. Look at this. That's not here. This is St. Thomas. Look at that. Does this make you think? I'm going to pull on you tonight. Does this make you think how precious life is? Does it make you understand that we don't have time to prepare? Preparing is now. Disaster comes in every form. Aaron said it's not just hurricane. Comes in every form, right? What's the first one? What do you think this first one is? Earthquake. If I said to you, in an earthquake, what are you supposed to do? What's the three things you do? Say that again. Say that again. She said jump, roll, and hold on. Who said something else? Go, he said, find a table, get on that table. Exactly, so you got to protect your, okay. What's this one? Say it again. Tsunami, very good, tsunami. And what's this one? Look at what's on the ground. Say it again. Oil spill. Even though we don't have Lime Tree open right now, are the tanks still here? Yes, they are. So in the event there's anything happening with an oil spill, first thing we want to know is where not to go. To do what? Avoid contamination. Let's go back to tsunami for a minute, though. In a tsunami, you get a notification. You are supposed to start looking for what? High ground. Based on where, I want you to think about three places. Your home, your job, where you worship. In the event anything happens and you're in any one of those three places, because that's where you spend most of your time, where is your higher ground? Where is yours from ministry? Where is it? That everybody that's here for ministry, if you didn't know, she just told you. She says back by the Baptist, it's the Baptist church. That's Pastor Gilbert over there, isn't it?
Friedensberg Baptist Church, that is correct.
That's very good. In a tsunami. Say it again. They're very good. Here she's LaGrange area, right? Very good. But now based on where you live, You do? She said, I live on the hill, so I'm going to stay home.
That works.
Say that again. Oh, so where you live, it's going to take 5 tsunami to get there.
Not necessarily.
Y'all find out where he lives.
He live in St. John, not necessarily.
Uh-huh.
Okay, if the tsunami come from Princess side, he in trouble.
Ah.
But if I am at home, I'm going by Sister Ivani.
To find out where she lives.
I grabbing Miss Helen and Elaine and all of them, and we going by Ivani.
So y'all need to get friends with her right now. Find out where her house is, right? But I'm serious. Think about where you live. Think about when you're in worship. And think about where you work. If a tsunami hit at any of those times, what's your highest point? You have to know where it is and how to get there.
We're also over at the schoolhouse.
Yeah?
It's still higher ground
Okay.
in the schoolyard.
Okay.
Across by the manse. It's still
Okay.
higher ground.
Okay. So your leaders are sharing with you some other areas that you could go for higher ground. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to know that information. Right? Because you may be calling sister something and she ain't answering the phone. You want to come inland. Right? Very good. Aaron, anything you want to add to that?
Yep, so the general rule of thumb is 80 feet above sea level or 2 miles inland.
2 miles inland or, Aaron?
80 feet above sea level.
8 feet above sea level. Y'all got that? So start thinking where I live, where I worship, where I work. If I am at any of those points and something happened tsunami-wise, what's my highest point? Or where do I go inland? Okay? Let's pause for a minute. And I want you to think about this. Preparedness is a what? It's a what? We got to shift. Why? How many of you have heard people in a storm, let me go buy a couple cases of water, some biscuit, and some Vienna sausage? Tell the truth. You probably were buying it too, because we did. Right? So here is the thing. We have to shift that mindset. If you were here for her, Frederick and Douglass back in those days, you remember those? And David, right? There you go. There was a whole lot of rain, flooding. It wasn't doing what it's doing today. So how I think needs to shift. Preparedness is a principle of importance. Danger, dehydration, high blood pressure, all kinds of sickness in the body because people are stressed out. And then preparedness is a must. For what, though? Survival. So can I rely on the government to keep me alive? Should I rely on Fema to keep me alive? Talk to me, y'all. Should I rely on my neighbor to keep me alive? Preparedness is a must. Before and after. Some of you are probably in things like this. This is what it looks like when the roof is gone. This is just demolished. But now you have to rebuild. You have people that are just getting money to start rebuilding now. And it happened since 2017. Because many people think the process is an overnight process. It's not. It's not. But until you go through that process, does that mean that you can't still have wellness? That doesn't mean that you can. It just depends on what? How you think. So let's talk about a principle. I saw one person or two with a notepad, so that's really good. Paco principle, we're going to talk to you about that. What does that mean? P is talking about preparedness. A is talking to you about attending to your grounds and making sure things around your house and in your house is prepared. C is talking about community and check-ins, right? And O, if any of you are entrepreneurs, you work from your house, you do business for clients, and you have their personal information where you live, you have to find a way to safeguard that stuff. They're trusting you with their information, so you have to not only safeguard yours, but safeguard their information as well. So let's talk about it. Prepare your personal plan. How many of you have a personal plan? In the event I'm married, storm happens, we get separated, where are we going to meet? We have documents. In the event everything get wet, what's our backup plan to file for insurance when they need all the documents? Where do we get it? Right? We have to leave our house and go to a shelter. How we getting there? Who's taking us? What do we need to take with us? Are we prepared? If you are taking care of elderly, what do they eat? Are they on medication? Do I have enough? Jogging your memory to think about some things? Yes? I saw some of your facial expressions change because to you, it's like, that's like hitting home. Yes or no? Yeah.
Also phone numbers too.
Yeah.
So if you are dependent on a certain service that's here on the island, all right, well, once recovery starts happening, once businesses start opening back up, well, what happens if everything is still messed up and maybe only landlines or things like that are operational? Do you have addresses written down or phone numbers written down? Like I know a lot of people here have a lot of that memorized, but for a lot of other things, like what happens whenever that phone number is gone or things like that, or the location has to change, but maybe the phone number stays. So having these things documented in your plan and what's important to you, your doctor's phone numbers of other people that live outside of the territory that you can get a hold of to maybe contact one of your other loved ones that's here, because maybe you don't have service, but you know somebody else might be able to call in. Having that kind of things in the background and document it out, because let's say you have all of that on their computer or things like that, well, what happens if the electricity's still out? You might not be able to access your computer. So having a lot of those plans written down. Same thing for businesses. If you're trying to perform a certain service, do you have backup ways of ordering things? Do you have the different suppliers that you're going to talk to? If one supplier was here on island, is there another one off island that you can get your things to? So having this documented and written down so that you can actually go and physically and tangibly read it is also going to make a huge difference.
Is this hitting home so far? Yes? I'm going to ask you a check-in question, and online we'll ask you the same thing. If we stopped right now, just stopped, did we give you something to think about? Can you see places where you need to make adjustments? Raise your hand for me. Look around the room. Keep your hand up. I'm being very serious. Look around the room. So if Aaron and I stopped right now and you walked out that door, you got value. Is that true? My elder here said, yes. That's why we're here. Because the more you know in knowledge, now you can exercise the knowledge, and that's now called wisdom. Because we could come in here and we could give you information. That's not what we do. We empower you and educate you and equip you with what you need to know. But you know where the wisdom comes? When you take that and you apply it. We're people of faith, right? People of faith in Christ Jesus, yes? So he said, any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of me, and I would what? I would give it to him liberally. He's given it to you. The question is, what are you going to do with it? Because it's not enough for us to hear. We have to now what? We got to do it. We got to do it. So let's talk about this. 4 areas of personal planning. There's a key word that's highlighted under there, that's underlined. What is that word? Say it loud for me. I see somebody like, I forgot my glasses. I'll say it for you. Intentional. You don't have conversation with husband and wife just by osmosis. She knows what I'm thinking. I know what she's thinking. And at the end of the day, she's like, you didn't do it? He's like, you didn't do it? Because nobody talked about it. Intentionality means we purposely said, let's sit down and come up with our house plan. Here are the things to consider in that. Number one, yourself. Husband and wife is one. So it's not me against you and you against me. For our house, what do we need to do? What do we have? What do we need? And what steps are we going to take to get it? Elderly. You have elderly that have chronic challenges. They're hearing impaired. They're visually impaired. Some might be diabetic. Some are on insulin. In the event that electricity is gone, you said, Ms. Green, it drizzles and it's gone. So now it's storming and it's gone. Insulin needs to be kept refrigerated. What is your backup plan if the person you're taking care of is on insulin? What are you going to do? See, these are the things to start thinking about, right? Oxygen. You have people that walk around with oxygen tanks attached. What's your backup? Children. This is a big one. I had an opportunity to speak to some children in a camp. And I said, just talking to them, and I said, so tell me how you felt during the storm. We did a mentorship team one time with the youth group, Aaron. And so they were all sitting at this round table. They're 12, 13, all the way up to 17 years old. And we said to them, I had to mentor one table. So here I have 7 students. And I said, talk to me. Just don't hold anything back. Tell me, how did you feel during the storm? And I just got quiet. And they shared their heart at that table. And they said, one young man I'll never forget, he said, Ms. D, I wish I had known more then. And I wish somebody had told me how I could help. Because I asked a couple people how I could help. And you know what they told me? You're a kid. Just sit down. Let me say something to you. Not every child is lazy. There are children that sometimes it's not about laziness. They don't see where they fit. We have to let them know there's a place for them. We have to let them know, listen, you could be certified. Guess what? You could learn how to about tourniquets. You could learn how to do basic little things that in the event of a situation, we could teach you certain things that you could help your community, you could help your parents, you could help your neighbor. 12, 13, 14 years old. But do we have to teach them before the storm? Yeah, you do. Because in the storm, nobody's stopping to teach you anything. But some children want to help. You know what they want? They want to know we value them. I listened, and this was not just men. This was young men and 2 young ladies at this table. And everything they told me, I wrote it down. Because sometimes we look at youth a certain way, but we're the ones responsible for raising them up in the way that they should go. Because foolishness is in the heart of a child. So if you don't teach them the right way, how are they going to know what the way is? Didn't somebody have to teach us? Some of the things we learned, we had to relearn because it wasn't always right. But do we have to train them? Do we have to teach them? And if you have youth, Aaron just said something about phone numbers. Who has a cell phone? Raise it up for me. Raise up your cell phone. My friend, if I told you, rattle off 3 of the most important numbers of people you love, can you do it to me without watching your phone? Good for you. Sir, say that again. You call them every day. Sir, your cell phone. Don't have a cell phone. You don't have one. Oh, okay, that's fine. I'm glad you said that. If I said to you, 3 numbers in your phone. Just tell me off the top of your head, because you don't have phone service, but I have a phone. And you said, I want to call my sister and I want to let her know that I'm okay. I said, I got minutes. Here is my phone. Can you take that phone and just dial that number? Many of us say, I can't do it. Why? Because we rely on the phone for everything. Yes or no? How many times somebody asks you for your phone number and you're like, give me a minute? Yes or no? Thank you for telling the truth. And it's your phone number. Yeah. What is that, your book? Look at that.
It is a book. It is a book.
Look what he said. Raise it up. Let them see. Look at that. If you look at that, you think that's one of them flip phones. That's his phone book. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. When is the last time you saw somebody with a phone book?
Always have a book on you.
Yes. Hear what he said. One, military. Former military. They said you not only always remember everything, so do what? Write it down. I could attest to that. I go to the grocery store sometimes, and I'm going to tell you the truth. By nature, very organized, and I could tell you where something is. But there's times I go to the supermarket, I don't know what's happening, but sometimes I forget. But if I keep my list in my phone, I guarantee you I got everything. Phone numbers, appointments, I know it, but I keep it in the phone. Because do we get busy sometimes and forget? So imagine when it comes to phone numbers. Your teens, your nieces, your nephews that love you and look out for you. In the event something is wrong, do they know how to get in touch with you? Do you know how to get in touch with them? What? Yes. Did y'all hear what she said? Say it again. Did y'all hear what she said? The phones have consequences. We laugh, but it's true. So what's your backup? Where are your numbers stored? I can't tell you the last time somebody popped out. They've popped out a charcoal, but I've never seen anybody pop out a phone book. See that? So do we need to write these things down? Yeah, we do. And then your pets. This is a big one. If you're taking your pets, let's say you have to go to a shelter. Ladies and gentlemen, not every shelter takes pets. So if you have Fido in the back of your yard, you know Pedro? You have to take Pedro with you. He is your responsibility in blue skies and gray. So when you're taking him anywhere, or her, you need to have a kennel. You need to have blanket. You need to have a sheet. You need to have dog food. Some people laugh at that, but it is the truth. Many of us grew up with dogs, but the dogs wasn't in the house. The dog was where? Tell the truth. Y'all, we island people in this. Where you put that dog? Okay. You put him outside. But did you feed him? Did you clean him? When he mess in the yard, do you clean it up? So why in gray skies don't you think you have to take care of him? Do you know how many animals they found dead around the territory during Maria? The vet and all of them, they had no space for all the animals. People just let them go. That's not responsible. If they were good enough to have when the sky is blue, we should take care of them when the sky is gray. Right? This is your family plan. We need to have this conversation.
Before we go on to the next one, I want to go back to where it said youth. So one of the programs within Fema in general, but it's in pretty much every state and territory in the U.S., is the Community Emergency Response Teams. So last year, there were 2 classes here in St. Croix. So as we're talking about youth, guess how many youth participated in those classes versus older adults or just adults in general? Somebody throw out just like a percentage and let me take some guesses. 4%? All right, we got 4%.
What did you say? 2?
2%? All right, 90% of the people that were in the CERT classes were teenagers.
Yeah.
90%. So, youth can have a major role
Yes.
in disasters. Well, the way that the CERT teams work is Vitima, wherever there's gaps and wherever there's assistance needed, depending on the training of the individuals in the CERT teams, they can plug those people there. And the volunteers, the CERT members, can go there and help out the community. So whether it could be a myriad of things. So traffic control, debris removal, search and rescue, operations and actual doing phone calls. Like they can do all kinds of things and anybody can join these. But just to put it in perspective, 90% of the people that attended the CERT classes last year were teenagers.
That shocked you, didn't it? She was like, oh, well, I was way off from 4. Yeah, very good. Value, right? Let's go to this one. Thanks, Aaron. Emergency supplies. I want you to skim that list for a minute. Just skim that list. Look to the left. Skim that list for a minute. Do you have all that right now? Generator, your gas bottles. How many of you have the generator that makes the noise? Very good, right? Reverend, I see you at the back. First aid kit, COVID mask, sanitizers. First aid kit, y'all got your kit? You don't want to buy one, you can make one. First aid kit, flashlights. Do you know that they are making flashlights in so many unique ways now and much brighter that you could put one on and put it like this and it lights up the whole room? That's different to the flashlights we grew up with, right? And guess what? This is one flashlight we were able to get for demonstration for you. Guess how much this flashlight was? How much? 10. Worth it? Yeah. Fire supplies, charcoal, our elderly. Fire supplies, we met an elderly at a congregation in Christiansted, and she just let everybody know, you need to have, besides charcoal and liquid fuel, your lighter, you also need to always have flour, because you could always make Johnny cake. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. An iron
they
pot.
clap it.
Iron pot.
Right? Mosquito repellent. Sometimes it's not the stuff they're selling in the store. All of us know lemongrass here in the territory. Do you know lemongrass oil, raw lemongrass oil? When you put that on your skin, not only does it smell real nice, it keeps mosquitoes away from you. Didn't know that. I'm a living testimony. My sister sells it. We had some friends that came in from Fema when I started, and the gentleman came to a meeting. I felt so bad for him. He was a contractor here, him and his wife, and they were tore up from mosquitoes. I mean, they had never been here. They didn't know. They wore a lot of short sleeve. It's hot. And he said, it's mosquito bites, and he was just itching. I called and asked my sister, I said, listen, I have somebody here, because she's who educated me about it. I said, I have somebody here from Fema, him and his wife. Their skin is messed up. I need lemongrass oil. She gave me those oils. I took it to them. The gentleman started using it. He said, I don't care. I took a bath, take a bath. I put it on. In a couple weeks, he came back. You would not believe that was the same gentleman. Lemongrass is very, very good. Right? If you go to the agricultural fair this year, I don't know how many of you know her. Her name is Amoy. She's imperial by nature. She sells all natural things made from stuff right here. Go get your lemongrass oil for the season. Right? Your battery powered and your weather radio. How many of you have seen one of these? Very good. Weather radio. You could get a weather radio like this for maybe about $30 or so. But look at this one. What do you see on here? Tell me what you see. Flashlight. What else do you see? Flashlight radio. What's that? Right there. A phone. What do you see? Cell phone charger. What do you see? Flashlight. There's a radio in there too. Do you know what this is? This, say it again. Even though this is a radio, flashlight, cell phone charger in one, it is solar. Guess how much this is? How much? $15. Solar. Do you think all of us need one of these? Yes. She's like, we need to talk to you. Here's the next one. Your battery packs, cell phone chargers. Everybody running now buying batteries, yes or no? Does Home Depot run out? Tell the truth. Gallows Bay Hardware, do they run out?
Especially when everybody's trying to buy them.
Hear the commercial. Especially when everybody's trying to buy them. So why are you waiting until July and August to start getting your batteries? Do I need to start buying them now? Yeah, I do. All sizes. How many of you sometimes don't know that certain things in your house use a certain battery until you can't get it? Right? Yes. Sanitation and personal hygiene. And I'm not just talking about ladies. I'm talking about men too. Women need personal hygiene products, but men do too. Yes or no? Come on, y'all. Even though you're cutting the trees and cleaning the yard, we still need you to be fresh. Right? So here are some of the things to think about. Sanitation and personal hygiene products. If I'm leaving my house, I'm going to stay by my aunt. Her house is more safer than mine. I need to make sure that I have a to-go bag ready to go stay to auntie's house. Yes or no? Or if you're going to the sister on the hill and she tell you to come, she might have stuff there, but you need to be prepared for when you go there. Right? Here's the last one.
Well, let's combine something real quick first.
Yeah.
So we're looking at sanitization, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've also talked about fire starting materials, right? So what happens if we combine these? Because we know that sanitization isn't just cleaning yourself, but it's also making sure that you put clean things into your body. Most importantly of this, which would be water. So whenever there's heavy flooding, which generally hurricanes are going to have, what is going to happen? All right, the water is going to build up on the ground. What's underneath the ground? In a lot of places, there's sewage underneath the ground. So what happens whenever that water seeps into the sewage, but normally sewage doesn't come up. But what happens when you have water connecting the sewage to the surface? And now there's a conduit for it to come up. Now that surface water is also not safe. So keep in mind, you're probably going to be under a boil water advisory. So having things to sanitize the water, maybe you need extra filters. Maybe you need a way to boil the water. So take this into account too and count that into either sanitization or fire as well. But ways to keep your food, your water clean.
Excellent point. Y'all got that? Right? Because there's also, my husband and I found it, I don't have it with me. Thank you, Aaron, for that piece. They're water filter pills. You could just drop it in the water, it filters, right? We found that. And so these are some of the things that you want to start to consider, right? Before we go to money and cash, because it's up there. What's this? What is it? Do you typically know water to expire? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But we just came back from the National Hurricane Conference. Aaron and I had to go, and we went and learned, look at this. This is water in like a juice box. This lasts for 5 years. Why? It's a company that helps organizations and families get prepared for disaster. So now it's not just these types of waters that we buy and put in our house. Yes, in a storm you need these. But if you're looking to have things that you are storing for a while, we got water. And this is pure water in this box. 5-year warranty on them. Important to know? Yes or no? Absolutely.
And while we're on the subject of hydration too, how many know that hydration isn't just water?
That's right.
So as you're sweating, as you're working out, as you're cleaning everything that's in the yard, as you're doing everything outside, as the air conditioning's not working, as it's hot, as the wind may not be blowing, you're going to be sweating, perspiring. So as you're sweating, your body is losing a lot of salt, a lot of other minerals. So you can continue to keep drinking water, but you can still actually become a heat casualty or get a heat stroke from even still drinking water and doing the things you were doing. So plan ahead to where you can be able to replace a lot of those nutrients as well as you're using them.
Which brings me to Pedialyte. How many of y'all have heard of Pedialyte? But a lot of us give it to children. Did you know that Pedialyte is also good for adults? To build back up electrolytes in your body? I know, because the doctor told me that one time. Didn't know I was dehydrated. And I said, I'm what? Not me. Said, yes, you are. Go get a bottle of Pedialyte. Did I like it? No. But did it get my electrolytes and everything back up where it needed to be in a short time? It sure did. So you see, Pedialyte, and they come in flavors now. Pedialyte is not just for children. It helps build electrolytes in your body as well. So to Aaron's point, it's not just the water. It's good to have my water stored because I need to keep that supply. But as I'm exerting energy, what am I doing to build that back up? Right? Money and cash. We can't only rely on debit cards. Sometimes you've used debit cards in Blue Sky and it didn't work. Yes or no? Tell the truth. Especially if you use a certain bank. I ain't gonna call their name, I'm just saying. Y'all know, y'all laughing too hard. That means y'all know who I'm talking about. So what do you need to do? Always have what? And even if you have at least 300, I'm just throwing a number out, but I'm saying, and you're not keeping $300 bills. You may need some 20s and some 10s or whatever it is to keep you until you start to get moving again. And if you can't trust your kids, don't tell them where you put it. I'm just saying, right? But you need to have cash because in the event you need to purchase something during that time, machines aren't working. So what are you doing to make sure I could sustain? I need to have some cash readily available. Fair enough? Look over at the right side as we wrap up this piece. We've talked a lot about it. We've talked about the water. I have up there 7-day supply. It's recommended, not the big gallon waters, cases. Easy for you to move, right?
All right, so before we go into this too, let's start explaining why some of this is on here too, and why these numbers are kind of the way that they are. So I like bringing this in there. So as soon as the storm happens, what's one of the random questions that people start asking is, well, where's FEMA? So in this, I'll inform you of where FEMA is. So generally, about 72 hours prior to a potential storm impact, there's FEMA individuals called the IMAT, so immediate response, like assistance team, or emergency management assistance teams, where they're coming down prior to the storm. They're here to help stage, and they bring in the different emergency support functions. So that's going to be along the different lifelines of communication, mass care, sheltering, and a lot of the different, so like port openings as far as airports and the seaports, things like that. So, all right, yeah, we're just bringing people down here to stage and get ready. But immediately as the hurricane happens and after it happens, our focus is on going to be saving lives. So the first things we're doing is hey, we need communication so that we can get out there and do search and rescue, because people might be trapped in their houses. Number one concern is getting people out of debris. Number two is anybody that has medical assistance that needs it, they need to get where they're going. So the first several days in the focus is us getting there. But let me go back. Prior to that, FEMA doesn't actually go anywhere we're not invited. So in order for us to be invited, the territory has to request it. And then for the territory to request it, there has to be a state of emergency. So if there's not a state of emergency declared, we have no jurisdiction and we can't go anywhere. If it is declared, for it to be a federally declared emergency, it needs X dollar amount of damage to take place. So the territory is responsible, and it's also helped out by federal agencies as well, but people have to go out and do damage assessments. So it'll be the initial damage assessments. And once that number is tallied, then we're allowed to come in once we're requested. But all of this takes time. So right after the hurricane happens, everybody's coming out of their house. You're looking at a day, maybe 2 days, to where damage assessments are taking place, and there might not be a declaration yet. Therefore, we can't give any aid at this point. And so what's going on in the meantime? Okay, well, Red Cross is involved. Maybe the shelters are open and the territory wanted them to open. So the territory worked with Red Cross. They've opened the shelters. Red Cross is responsible for 72 hours worth of sustainment at those shelters. None of this is still FEMA. So this whole process is taking place, and then once it does get declared a disaster, we can then come in. But what are we looking at first? Saving lives and getting things here. Logistics are going to be a huge problem potentially. What if the airfield was damaged by heavy rains or winds? The tower's gone. All right, well, we have to get military to come in. They have to set up their own mobile stations. Okay, that's going to take time before we can get any resources in. All right, all of the ports. How many boats sank during Irma Maria? Okay, so as you coming into the harbors or the ports, a lot of the captain of the port and or a lot of the officials will not allow boats into the port until it's cleared. Well, how does it get cleared? Well, we might have to get resources that have laser systems or sonar systems, potentially from Puerto Rico, or if those were damaged over in Puerto Rico, it may take even more time to get those resources here in order to actually clear the ports. So all of this time, no supplies are coming into the territory. If the airfield's not open and the ports aren't open, things aren't coming in. And generally, whenever the airfield gets open, the first people that can bring things in are military. So you're not going to have necessarily civilian flights coming in with donations. That's, if it is declared, then it's going to be FEMA mission assigning, so tasking out other organizations to bring in the aid necessary. They might be bringing in the things that are clear out the water ports. They might be bringing in support to do debris removal, because even if we start getting these things open, we might not be able to get to people's houses to save them in case there's something that's caved in. So we have to clear the way and do search and rescue along this time. All of this is taking time. So for a lot of whenever we're talking about the food, the water, it's important to have these things on hand. All right, well, I've heard it a lot. So why people don't prepare, it's like, oh, FEMA's going to give us food. Well, there's going to be what if that's everybody's plan? And everybody's planning on FEMA giving you food. There's a finite amount of food. Yes, we have water. We have a large portion of our warehouse filled with these in gallon boxes of 5-year things. We also have shelf-stable meals ready to hand out. But a lot of these things aren't even going to be open for potentially a while. And then the pods, so the points of distribution where we hand these out, that's going to take logistics and planning and people to come in that may not be on the island, because a lot of the responders are survivors as well.
Yeah.
So they might be taking care of some of their own problems. So we may have to bring additional people here, volunteers from the United States, additional soldiers from other states. It takes time to get all of these people here, get them set up. So once they get here and set up, then we have to come up with the logistics of establishing one of these points of distributions. Then they have to plan how to get everything there. They have to have the managers, the staff. They're going to have to come up with how it's going to run. A lot of the stuff is already predetermined, but it still takes time. So you might not even have the first pod open until maybe 5 days, maybe longer, depending on how much damage has actually taken place. So that's why it's so important whenever we recommend, hey, you need to have at least 7 days worth of water.
Minimum.
At least 7 days worth of food, is because if something happens, it could take a while before assistance comes. And when it does come, everybody's going to be trying to get the same resources.
Yes.
So they're going to be finite. It may take a while for us to get more. There might be rationing going on to where, okay, during this day we can give this amount of supplies, and we also have to space it out throughout the different islands, or where on the islands are we going to do it. Maybe one day we do central, maybe one day's west, maybe the other day's east. It depends how much staff is here, and then what the governor wants as far as how many are going to be open. So all of these are planning considerations that you may be on your own longer than you think. And then whenever you do get these supplies, how are you going to transport them? So do you have a vehicle you can put them in if the roads are clear? Are you walking up? Are you going with a group and maybe some people are walking back? Well, if you're feeding your whole family and you're getting a box of shelf-stable meals, that's heavy. So you're going to be walking, I don't know, maybe a couple of miles with a 30, maybe 40 pounds worth of box. So you're going to have to, I don't know, a wagon or come up with things. But after Irma and Maria, I heard dozens and dozens of stories of boxes of food left in ditches. Just because people picked up extra food for their family and they couldn't carry it all the way back. So these things, you have to plan on having food at home, yes, and then if you're going to use assistance, being able to use it wisely and be able to take advantage of making it last as well. So all of this is into the planning and preparing for what happens when one of these events or one of these disasters actually happen. And there's a lot of things going on in the background for all of this as well. Great question, and I want to highlight what you asked, is how does FEMA communicate that? We don't.
Sorry, Aaron. Aaron, could you repeat her questions for the benefit of
sorry.
those?
Her question was, how does FEMA communicate to the general populace where these supplies are or when or how they're going to be distributed? So what I would like to highlight is FEMA doesn't. FEMA is supporting the territory in doing this. So the Department of Human Services is the one that's actually distributing everything. The JIC, the Joint Information Center, is the one that's putting out all of the messages via the radio. So the one that she was just handing out, there's the radio stations. I think it's on one of the slides a little bit later. But that's one of the main ways that they're going to be putting out in a lot of this information. Also, a lot of this information is going from the EOC through us or straight to the VOAD, Volunteer Organizations Active in Disasters, so that they can put it out on their networks so that your church may have the information. Other community-based organizations may also have this information out. So there's a whole network too, and we haven't really touched on the network of preparedness, but a lot of it goes into that. So as far as, just to go back to your specific question, is FEMA doesn't put that out. It's the territory, but the radio and then different means of communication and word of mouth and the news programs that if people do have electricity that they can watch, but that's how a lot of it's going to go on.
And the good thing about that is because we have a relationship now with Reverend Francis, And when we talk to him, the more we're in communication with him, anything that's communicated to us comes out to all the faith leaders so they could get it to you. You with me? So it's like the tree, and we are all lines of communication. That's why collaboration, communication, cooperation, and coordination in all our efforts is so important. It's not just one. It's a conglomerate of everybody working together to say, how do we get to him so he could get the information to you? And the other thing that I will tell you, we are actually working on that. I'm also the interim chair of the Croix COAD. And so with the VOAD organization, it's a Virgin Islands territory. We're part of the national on the mainland. But one of the things that we're doing here is also looking at different places where we could also set up something called Resiliency Hubs, meaning Christiansted is not the one just getting everything, or you have to drive all the way from Frederiksted to Christiansted to get your supplies, or they have to come down here. What we're actually looking with our partners to do is how we can have a pilot here in the Virgin Islands where we have Christiansted covered, we may have somebody in the Mid-Island, and then we have somebody in Frederiksted. So it's easy for people to get to versus the 2 and the 3 hour lines that you've had to deal with, right? Especially when we're under curfew, right? See? So that's more to come, but that's a great question that you asked, because one of the things that has caused some issues in our community is what? Clear, precise communication. Sometimes people lost out on things that were available because it was not communicated, nor sometimes it's not communicated in a timely fashion. So it came, but it was yesterday. Well, how come we didn't know it before yesterday, right? So this is where that partnership is with, like Fema. Aaron says we don't distribute that, but through the partnership that we have with VOAD, COAD, now we're able, and he said Human Services, which is ESF 6, we work with them as well. How do we now find out as a team what we need to communicate, and then from our behalf, who are our partners that we need to get it to so they could get it to you? Make sense? So thank you very much for asking that. That's a very important question. Just to keep us on target, I'm just going to continue, right? And so over here, I wanted to go back for just a minute, right here. Aaron talked about the water, right? Minimum 7 days supply. But here is the thing. If I'm a family of 4, I can't have enough 7 day supply water for just me. Think about that. We're a family of 4. What I could use that will help me for 7 days is not what's going to help us for 7 days. So do I need to up that number? Yes, I do. When we talk about non-perishable food and breakfast bars, I'm not kidding. We've heard our nutritionists and stuff shared with us. It's not that you can't buy things to store up, but in blue skies, buy what you eat. And breakfast bars are a very good one that you could put them up. I may not eat them all the time, but at least I could stomach this in the event of a storm. Does that make sense?
And get your favorite cans of soup.
Yeah, your cans of soup.
Check the expiration dates on them.
Here's the thing. Good for that. How many of you buy, you buy the what do you call it, the 12-case pet milk, carnation milk, right? When you go to shop for canned goods, how many of you take what's on the shelf, move it to the front, and put the new stuff you bought to the back? Some people don't do that. They just push the stuff in the cupboard. Guess what? Expiration dates, you got to start checking those things now. The way the world is changing, expiration dates on items are not even what they used to be. So you might think something is going to last me for a year or two. It has a 6-month expiration on it. So we need to be more aware of these things, right? Then we talk about infant and baby food. My lady in the back with the beautiful baby, right? We heard a story for a lady in New Orleans when, Katrina hit. She had, I can't remember right now off the top of my head how, but the baby was very young. How did she feed that baby for 2 weeks until she got help came in? Somebody gave her crackers and she got water. She had to put some water in her mouth, put crackers in her mouth until it softened, and rub it in the baby's mouth for 2 weeks to keep the baby alive. I'm not kidding you. We heard it on one of our calls. She got on and told her testimony. Why? Because she wasn't thinking the levee was going to break. So maybe if she had a little food, it was just enough, but it wasn't enough for 2 weeks. Thank God her and baby are doing well. But you got to now click into what? Survival, right? Medication, we talked about that. Prescription and over-the-counter. Get a backup. Get an extra supply. It's better to have it and don't need it than to need it and you don't have it. Pets, we talked about that. But if you have to go to a shelter, you want to look at this. Carry your to-go at the shelter. What do I have in here? I got a toothpaste, I got toothbrush, I got hand sanitizer, I got a little first aid kit in here. If I am going with my husband and a child, I need a to-go bag, husband need one, child need one. 24 to 48 hours, because we know in these shelters, it's not for you to stay there for a whole 6 months. It's a 48 to 72 hours place of stay for safety. So do I need to be prepared when I go in there? Yes. So let's say I go to maybe the Red Cross and they assist me of some kind. They're going to give what they have, but it might not be enough for a family of 2 or 3. Let's get prepared. Make sense, everybody? Handy, affordable tools for the household. I'm going to go through this really quickly. Lighting, solar LED light bulb. These prices are still accurate because I just verified them before we started these in this season. You could get solar LED light bulbs for like $10. They last very, very long. You also have communication cell phones. How many of you know what the solar bank is? Y'all know what a solar bank? It's shaped like my friend's phone, your phone book. And it's a solar bank where you could put that and it helps you to charge your phones. Those things are not expensive at all. You could get one for like $30, right? Your solar hand crank radio, we talked about that. And your solar shower. How many of you have seen this before? 1, 2, and 3. You know who the people know this very well? The people who camp, right? You all remember back in the day, everybody camping up Kramer Park, you know, for that long weekend, etc. Now, nobody wants too much sand on their skin for too long. So what are they doing? Buying the solar showers. Anything camping-wise is very good for you to have during the storm.
Question. Where can we get these?
The solar shower, you could actually look on Amazon. Amazon has it. I didn't see it at Walmart, but I know I definitely saw it on Amazon, and they have different ones because their vendors are comparing in pricing. And they're not that expensive at all.
Home Depot, they also sell some. Not necessarily the showers, but I've seen the solar things for your cell phone there.
Yeah.
I've seen the radios. I've seen those at Gallows Bay Hardware. So there's different places here around the island that sell these materials. Mm-hmm.
Family plan. If you have your phone, you want to take a picture of that, feel free to go ahead. Here's a couple of things. We talked about some of it. Your key phone numbers. Don't rely on the cell phone. You need to have a meeting place, right? Evacuation plan. Where are we going? How are we getting there? Because can I tell you, based on CDC guidelines, even though we have 2 shelters right now, if I said to you, do you know the 2 shelters in St. Croix? Who can tell me where they are? Where did you say? Complex is one. What's the next one? Did you just say it? DC Canagata Ballpark. Now, here is the key to that. The amount of people that they could have accommodated before, because of CDC guidelines, those numbers have drastically declined. So what are we encouraging people now? Shelter in place. That means even if my house is not safe, do I have an aunt, a neighbor, an uncle, somewhere else I could go and stay? But even if I'm going to a relative, I still want to go there prepared. Make sense, everybody? Right? When we talk about coverage, car insurance, house insurance documents. Y'all know that. During
this is
a storm.
Big one too. So let me hop in on the documents portion of it.
Uh-huh.
So afterwards, whenever the disaster recovery centers open up throughout the island and people can go, the to seek individual assistance from FEMA, what do they ask for? They need your
Yep.
deed, they need personal documents. If you're asking for money to repair the house, you have to prove that you own that house. So having a lot of these documents is important. And then on top of that too, it's knowing kind of what exists and why some of those things are there. So the individual assistance, a lot of people think, oh, they can just go there and get money for their house. There's a process to it. They have to validate things. It's designed to be a stopgap between what your insurance covers and the actual value of the damages that happened. It's not supposed to replace anything, and it never was. That's not the goal behind it. So knowing what it's for and then knowing the processes and having your insurance documents, having the deed, having all of this stuff, and having a way to store it and keep it, whether you have it on hard documents where you have it in a plastic bag and something
Yes.
safe that's not going to
Yes.
get wet or ruined, whether you have a backup on a thumb drive, or whether you've emailed them to yourself so that they're in your own email account and your address, but having multiple ways and backups to the systems of documents that are very important. Birth certificates, IDs, things like that, things that you'll need, passports, all of that, and securing and keeping them safe.
You need to have your documents, everybody. Doing this work for a while, we've seen some people who could have qualified, didn't have a deed. I can't prove it's mine. Auntie died and passed it to my mom. My mom died and passed it to me. Paperwork is not ready. I don't have the deed in my name. It's just been a house passed on for generations. We now need to find a way to get that stuff taken care of, right? Because it could hinder assistance that's possibly there for you, right? And what they're asking for, everybody says it's not a cookie cutter system. What you could ask for on the mainland, structure here in the Virgin Islands is very different. We get that. But until then, what do we do to prepare ourselves to have at least basic paperwork? What do? We got to make sure that we're securing these documents, right? Medical plan, life-sustaining treatment. Somebody is on dialysis, okay, maybe the bus comes to pick them up because you're at work and you care for them. In the event of a storm, how are we getting them to the dialysis center? Things to think about. Because the dialysis center has to prepare, but how are we going to get that person there? Right? If public transportation is not there.
And with dialysis too, the Department of Health, if you know somebody that is on dialysis, and they probably were contacted by the Department of Health, but you can go prior to the storm and get a pre-dialysis before the storm comes, so that way you're already ready for the next several days after the storm happens.
There you go, right? And then we talk about business continuity. If you are an entrepreneur, you do some kind of business from home, and you have individuals trusting you with their credit card or whatever it is you're doing, especially if you're a tax accountant or something, you have personal clients' information. In the event of something coming, not only am I protecting my docs, but I'm learning how to protect their information as well, right? If I run an office somewhere, continuity plan. What's my backup plan at that office? What if I can't get there after the storm? Where are we going to operate out of, right? We have services that helps the community tremendously. In a storm, how are we going to get the services to them? How soon do we get back on our feet to provide that service to the community? So maybe I can't do it from the original building I had, but what's my backup? See that? Things for us to think about.
And backup bookkeeping too. If you do everything on QuickBooks or some sort of other online cloud thing that manages everything for you, well, if all of that's gone, you're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, right? Let's talk about addressing your home. Remember PACO, right? The first one, P, everything starts there. Preparation, it starts right there. Let's talk about your home. Address your home front. Take pictures of what? Take pictures of what? Can I be real with you tonight? Can I talk straight? If you know that stuff was messed up before the storm, y'all laughing because you know what I'm about to say. Why are you putting it on your report and saying the storm damaged it? Let's be real, y'all. I'm not looking at none of y'all so you don't think I'm talking about you. Tell the truth. It was broken, rusted, done before the storm, yet you put it on the report and say the storm damaged it. Guess what? I personally saw people lost assistance because they were not truthful. Come on, y'all. You know how the elders tell you you cut your nose to spite your face? You knew it was messed up before. Why are you putting it on there? Take your pictures before and after. So I'm not just putting it on paper, I have proof. Make sense, everybody? Let's look at this.
While we're still on this.
Yes.
We got a few things as far as your address, your home, and taking care of this. Were you going to talk about pruning and landscaping? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right here on the next one.
Oh, it is? Okay. I didn't know I was jumping ahead.
Here.
Okay.
Aaron, go ahead.
Okay, so another way to prepare your house is getting rid of things that could become missiles during the storm. So if you're going to have a 75-mile-an-hour wind, say just from a Category 3, that can pick up something and chuck it into another yard, especially if it's large, metal sheeting, anything like that. It can do damage. Well, once you start going up in categories, like in Florida, in Miami, there's photos of pieces of straw sticking out of a telephone pole. So being able to remove and make your yard safe is going to do, maybe it might save your house. Maybe it might save your neighbor's house. But doing landscaping in the trees, can the wind blow through the trees semi-easily? Or is it going to catch wind like a sail and push the tree over, potentially onto your house or your neighbor's house? So some of these are also things to take into consideration. While we're on the topic of debris, after the storm, you're going to have all of this debris that's in the yard. Well, whenever you put it out to the street for the trash people to come and take it, all the contractors that are deployed through either the waste management or Department of Works, while they come through to pick up a lot of the trash that's there, is it separated? Because there was a lot of trash that was in Irma Maria that you're going to have a refrigerator mixed with a tree, mixed with a whole bunch of other stuff, some plastics and things like that. Well, they can't take the things to the dump in the same shipments. So they might only be taking yard debris in one trip. They may only be taking what they call white waste, which is metal, refrigerators, things like that, house debris. They may only be taking construction type materials, damaged walls, roofs, things like that. So having these things separated out in front of your house for whenever they come by is also going to speed up the recovery of these people and the chances of them actually taking it rather than it just sitting on your yard for a long period of time.
Very good information to know. Y'all heard that, right? One thing I learned too from one of our environmentalists, we did a training with them. If you have look at your yard. You have a lot of rusted items in your yard. You have a lot of old things in your yard. You want to clear your yard out because those things also harbor insects. During a storm, you don't want to be the person that's attracting bacteria. You want to be the person that has your area clean. So fresh water, rainwater is the best water, right? So even if I have all that rusted stuff out of my yard, my stuff is cut, grass is landscaped, everything is like that, how am I going to capture the water when the rain comes? Do I have buffaloes? And if I have buffaloes in the yard, what is covering the top of the buffalo? Because sometimes if the hole is too big, insects get in there and lay eggs. Yes or no? So we are using water. Aaron mentioned that before with the septic, but at the same time, we're using water out of a buffalo that should be fresh water, but because we didn't keep that water secure, now there's insects and stuff in there. We met a lady at one of the trainings we did, which is where we met Reverend Francis. She got up and she told her story there, and she said, I was one of them that came to the island. Nobody taught me some of the things you are talking about here. And when I came here, I caught malaria. Right here. And I'm like, you did? She's like, I have the paperwork to prove it. The doctor said that's what you have. But where was she getting a lot of that stuff from? Not the malaria, the dengue. What is it? The dengue fever, right? And when she went to the doctor and the doctor diagnosed her, everything, she had it. She had just moved here. Nobody had taught her that. So she said, I heard about preparation, so I got food and water, but some of that other stuff you guys are talking about, I never heard this. Right? So we have to be very careful how we are preparing. Again, take pictures inside and out. Tools. I told y'all I'm not going to hurt you. I didn't pick it up for you. But your tools. You got to make sure, gentlemen, women, if you use these, right, you make sure that they're not rusted. You make sure that you sharpen them before that time. How many of you remember when communities got together and they were cutting trees just so they could get out the road? You need to have these things. Your, anything like your chainsaw. You let that sit on the thing because you don't use it all the time. But you want to oil it. You want to make sure that it's good to go, that when the storm comes, everything is ready to go. Fair enough?
Same with generators.
And the same with your generators. You want to make sure that you test them. And here is the thing with the generators. You never want to run a generator too close to your house. If you have one of those big plug-up noisy one, you never want that running too close to your house, right? You never want to put fuel in there when it is still on. How many of you knew that? Safety, safety, safety first, right? Let's move on as we get ready to close out. Check your neighbors. C is for check your neighbor. How many of you have an elderly living next to you that their kids are away and you see them by themselves all the time? I'm raising my hand because I see it. How many of you know an elderly that sometimes they prefer to just stay in their house? I'm not going by anybody. You know those elderlies that are stuck in their ways? I don't care what you say. That Hugo and Marilyn could come together. I'm not going anywhere. Y'all know anybody like that? What are you going to do? You can't force them, but do we need to check on them before and after? Yes or no? Some of you, I ain't checking. I told you to come. You got to check on them, right? So check your neighbor. But a big thing I'm going to talk to you about here, and this is just through community conversation. Before and after the storm, you live somewhere. This is my neighbor. I see her catching the bus all the time. But I'm going to the store to buy a couple of groceries. What is it going to take off for me to say to the neighbor, we're going to Plaza right down the street. Would you like to come with us so we could help you get some stuff back to the house? What is going to take for you to offer help? Well, you see a single mother living in your neighborhood, always with the baby catching the bus. Listen, do you have stuff to prepare for the storm that's coming? No, I don't have any transportation. Listen, we got our stuff. I could drop you to Plaza West and help you pick up some stuff. Humanity. Basic humanity. Do you think we need more of that? Yeah, we do. But here is the thing. We can't talk about it. We have to do it. Does that make sense, everybody? Before and after the storm. What about people who have language barriers? English is not their first language, but they have started to say hi to you. Like, you know, I'm not saying pull people into your bosom right away, but I'm saying if there's been some type of cordial hi, we know you live in the neighborhood, you don't really speak, you see them catching the bus. Listen, emergency, do you have your stuff? However you need to communicate to them. It's better to say it and they say, no, I'm okay, than for you to feel guilty saying, I never even stopped to ask her if we could help her. Wellness checks. Wellness check is not just after, everybody. Wellness check is also before stuff happens. Fair enough? Contribute. C is also for contribute where you can. I'm going to tell you right now, see all the cert? That's what Aaron was talking about before. That's actually some of our certs that got certified, right? They gave us that picture. And we talked about the tools. But why are the tools necessary there? Dee, I thought you told me the tools are good for my house. Yeah, it's good for your house. But in the community, we need help. We need help. Whose help? Volunteers. How many of you grew up back in the day where people would at least volunteer 3 hours? Raise your hand for me. Y'all remember those days? Can I tell you? You don't find that too much anymore. Hear that again. Well, then that's not volunteer. He said, we don't like it, but he spoke the truth. No money, I ain't doing nothing. Let me say something to you. That's a bad way to live. Because the same person you can't take 3 hours out of your time to volunteer for may be the same person that turns around and sacrifices to help you. And I say this with respect to everybody in this room because I saw it as part of our rebuild program. We had individuals, husband, wife, and their children sacrifice their life on the mainland to come and work in our territory for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, helping elderly neighbors get their roof back and helping them do rebuild when we got people in our own island don't help with that. That's a problem. Everything is not about money. We got to get back to the time where it's about heart for people. And if they could sacrifice 2-3 weeks and know they did not get paid to come and help with the roof, they got shelter, they got food, and they came with heart and commitment. And they were honored for sacrificing their time. And sacrificial helping is not only in the house. Sometimes we got to get out the door. Because the people who need the help sometimes are not where you're sitting, they're out there. And so I'm the interim chair for the Quad, part of the VOAD, Virgin Islands. I'm always looking for volunteers. I'm not sending you on a roof. Yes, I'm not sending you here to get on a fire truck. But we, like right now, we're working with our Community First partners. There's a big event on May the 27th. What are they doing? They are helping get homeless off the street. And they are taking them with a big event to help connect them to services like healthcare and different things like that. What do they need? Volunteers that are willing to work together in a collaborative way to help them get through the process. What does that mean? A heart for you to talk to Ms. Green and say, Ms. Green, I'm going to be your escort for today, and I'm going to help take you through these different 20 services, and whatever you need, I'll help you fill out your paperwork. Guys, is that hard? No. You know where volunteer comes from? Where does volunteerism begin? Say it for me. Where? Where is it? That's your heart. He said it starts right here. Listen, if you have a heart for people and you value people, you will say, listen, I can't give 6 hours, but I could give 2. Listen, if Tracy gave 2 and you gave 2 and you gave 2 and I gave 2 and you gave 2, that's 10 hours right there. So the amount of time that it needs to volunteer doesn't always have to come from you, but collectively can we make a difference? We talk about the homeless on the street, but how many of us step up to help them? But if we have a company that's willing to fight for them, we could help that company get them through the process. Does that make sense, everybody? So if you are interested in speaking with me further to find out, certain times of the year, you need volunteers, I could give you 2 hours. I'll be willing to talk to you. See me after. And I'll give you my contact information, and we could talk. Fair enough? As we close out, we talked a lot about this, but here's your recap, right? Food and water. Enough for how many days? 14, but minimum 7, right? First aid kit, we talked about your tools and your supplies, your sanitation, your clothing and your bedding, important family documents, your special extras and entertainment. That piece, we got this from a youth psychologist. And she said with us, please start letting people know, children do not deal with trauma the way adults do. So I might be able to get through something a little better than a youth. They don't always show trauma the way we think they do. So if something is going on, it's so important to keep children safe. So if my thing is to listen to a certain Coco Melon, right? I want to be able to download some of that somewhere so the child can be listening to what? Coco Melon, because it's what they're accustomed to. Does that make sense? If a child likes to color, get some coloring books and some crayons and keep that in their to-go bag, because at least that gives them a sense of safety because that's what they're accustomed to. Does that make sense, everybody? Because children do not deal with trauma the way adults do. But have a lot of adults been traumatized because of Maria? Yeah, they're still dealing with it. But guess what? Nobody stopped to ask how many children were traumatized, to the point where it's even showing up in their schoolwork. So even though a child might not know how to communicate to you, we got to be willing to reach the child to the heart instead of always trying to get to their head. When you get to the heart of a man, he'll talk to you. When you try to get to his head all the time, he'll put up defenses against you. So we got to learn how to connect with them, but find out what it is that keeps them in that comfort zone to some degree, and find out how we could keep them. Mom and dad got this, but we want you to know we're keeping you safe. Make sense, everybody? These are a couple of guidelines. Don't get like me. I could tell you about these because some of them I did, right? So never let children see you lifting the cistern cover. What is this? It's not my new purse, I promise. Right? What do we use this for at your house? To do what? Store water. You also have people use this with the big, thick ropes, and they put it down into the cistern, and they pull it back up with water. How many people know people do that in a storm? Here is the thing. You never, ever, ever let kids or teens see you doing that. That's not safe. Right? Never refuel the generator while it's on. Always have cash on hand. In a storm, never wear soft shoes and come outside, even in your own yard, because you don't know what came blowing in the wind, and nails and everything are in the yard. Make sense? And always take any disaster what? Warning what? Always take any disaster warning. Say that again for me. Seriously. Because it's about us learning to become our own first. Very good. We've talked about that. Aaron did a very good job with that and blew your minds when he told you it was 90% of the people that were in CERT. You were like, I remember my friend here, he said, 4%? Aaron was like 90. He was like, I was way off, right? Yes. So the CERT program is very important. We have a youth group with us in the St. Croix Long-Term Recovery Group. Zentoya Franklin works with them. If you have youth that want to get involved and at some point you want to learn about CERT for them, you let us know, and we will be able to make sure we get in touch with our partners at Vitima for when they're doing another one. Okay?
And there's also the Youth Preparedness League as well, or Youth Preparedness Council, I'm sorry. And what that is, it's designed for high school students. It gets them involved in preparedness activities. They can do extracurricular projects and things like that. They get to claim it as an extracurricular activity on their college applications, and it also helps them as far as like scholarships. So if you know any high school age students that might be interested in that, it's the Youth Preparedness Council.
Very good. Right? So we got a couple of things for youth going on, right? This, if you have your phone, you want to take a snapshot of that. These are some resources we wanted to leave with you tonight. Valuable resources, Vitima, Alert VI. How many of you get that on your phone? Yeah, it tells you all the time when anything is going on. Vitima contact number, Fema. You have for the Apple device and Android. Radio source. If you are listening to the radio station during storm coming in, whatever it is, you want to have your radio and listen to local versus mainland, because they're always late in delivering the news. More local is what you need to listen to. 107.9, the radio station that you want to listen to locally that will always have updates as to what's going on. 107.9. And we also have up there the National Weather Center, right, with that information as well. And I'd like for you to read that with me on 3, the green part. With me. 1, 2, 3. We could read this as a group.
When we learn how to become resilient,
We learn how to embrace the
Beautifully broad
spectrum of the human experience.
Human experience. Remember, we talked about resiliency in the beginning. Family, resiliency is not a word, it's not a verb, it's a noun. That means what? What does that mean to you? When you read this, what is it saying to you? I need to be what? I heard somebody say the word before. Do I need to be proactive? Yes or no? Do I need to be proactive? Do I need to start now? Is preparedness serious? We talked about information versus wisdom. Which do you plan to run with? Say to me. Do you plan to take the information you got tonight? And do you plan to apply it? Then you are operating in what? Wisdom. Right? Here are 3 things I always say to everybody we talk to. You always want to be, what is this? Were you informed tonight? Raise your hand. You always want to be? Do we have some preparation to do? Raise your hand. And we need to begin when? Is right now now? Because here is something I'm going to tell you. Today, what is today? May the 11th? Today, May the 11th. It never was. It will never be again. At midnight, today will never be again. We will be stepping into a new day, is that right? Well, what I learned today, though, is to help prepare me forward so I could move stronger into what? Tomorrow. Does that make sense? So today is a gift. It's been an honor for Aaron and I to be here with you, to share this information with you. It's a gift because somebody did not wake up this morning, but you did. So now that you got the value, take it and run with it. How many of you learned something tonight? Wow. I'm going to ask you in one word. Of all the things you've heard with preparation, what made tonight different to anything you've heard before? How did it make a difference for you? Say that again? She said it was more personal. Did you see yourself in the story? Very good. And I saw the emotion too. I saw it. Good. Well, how did tonight differ for you? Say that again. It opened my eyes. It was more personal. It opened my eyes. My friends in the back, how was tonight different for you versus reading something in a newspaper? Yeah. What made tonight different, though? Did you learn one thing that you didn't know before? You're the first. Yeah. At health. And you're in the shelter, too. Very good. My friend, anything new for you? Oh, wait, you in the shelter, you see? Anything new for you, ma'am? It gave her ideas. Things I thought I knew, I learned some new things to get prepared. Yes. Sorry? The whole presentation hit home. You guys,
back.
I'm going to come there. You guys deep dive, he said, I want to capture everybody's answer. It hit home. He said, you guys went in more depth that a newspaper cannot go. So now I have clarity on, especially around my documents. Good. Ah. Wow. Yes. Okay. So it made a difference for you. Very practical. Good. My friend? Ah, we can't take things for granted. My friends in the back, anything? Sorry? I am more prepared now. You said what? It made me open up to being more responsible. Accountability and responsible. Pastor?
I like the Fema thought of taking the before and after pictures of your home.
Yeah.
I thought that resonated because I don't think very often we think about the after pictures,
Yeah.
but we don't often think about the before, and I think that is good information to keep in mind.
Very good. Thank you all for being so gracious, for being a host, right? Thank you for welcoming us into this house, Reverend. It is an honor for us to serve you. This is what we are committed to doing in our community. So I'm going to ask you a couple of things. Before we leave, if you're interested in learning more about volunteering, or even how to get in touch with me, I'm going to be right here. But my friend here brought goodies for you. All of this in depth covers everything. You even got coloring book for your kids. We talked about keeping them comfortable, right? He's laughing, right? So you got different material here, and he brought this for you.
But the adults could color too.
The adults color too, so so you got your coloring book here. And so Aaron is going to be here. Tracy is here as well. Please come and meet them. Please come and talk to them. If you need me for any reason, I'm going to be here for a few before we start to pack up. It's been an honor to serve you guys tonight, and we look forward to continuing to serve you in excellence.
Yes, thank you for having us all.
I think we need to give them a bigger round of applause than that. I think you would agree with me that the presentation was excellent. It was really excellent. And when I heard it the first time, what I appreciated the most was what Rena said. I like the practicality, you know. The one thing you will not leave here and not tell me tonight is where I can find out that radio thing. So you're gonna leave out that door there tonight before you tell me that. All right. So before we go, no, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much. So, let me apologize, Miss Tracy. I didn't know you were coming. So I owe you. But we want to say thank you to both Aaron and Mrs. Richardson. And so just as a token of, we can't pay you. We'll never be able to pay you. But we can let you know that we appreciate you. And we appreciate the sacrifice that you made to be here. So on behalf of all of us at Friedensberg, I want to just present you with this small token of our appreciation.
Thank you.
One for each of you.
Thank you.
Just a small token of how we feel, and you know that it came from our hearts. It's heavy, but it's weighty. But just want to say thank you and appreciate you. And God bless you in what you do. Now, the good thing about these things is that this is good information, but good information means nothing unless we put it into practice. All right? And so all my request is, I wasn't going to stream it, and then I decided against it when I got here. So it was streamed live. So it's on our Facebook page. It's on our YouTube page. Share the information. Go back and watch it again so you can have the information. The slides are up there in case you miss something, so you can have it, you can share it, so you can refresh yourselves from time to time. All right? We've been gone a little longer tonight than we would normally go, but I do believe we think it was worth it. It was. So let's stand as we dismiss. As we thank God for you, we thank God we can put God's blessings on you as you continue to do this. This is really important work. And by the way, just to say that while it's here, you know, we have a large viewership from all over the Caribbean. We have people from all over the place who does watch us. And we had quite a few people online from all over the place tonight who were quite intrigued by some of the, I mean, they couldn't relate to the Fema stuff, but certainly, you know, somebody commented about the box water. Somebody said water in box juice, the box water. We're quite intrigued about that. Shall we pray? God, tonight we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for the time of sharing. We thank you for what we have learned. And so, Lord, as we leave this place, we pray your blessing will be upon us. We pray our blessing upon your blessings upon our presenters, God, as they have poured out tonight. We pray that you will renew and refresh and restore them and pour back into them and their families. God, we pray your covering upon them as they journey home and upon us all. And even as we go into this hurricane season, God, we pray a blessing, we pray a covering over us, and that your hand of mercy will spare us once again. But Lord, whatever it is, we subject ourselves unto your will, for we know that once we are in your will, we are in the right place. So God, bless us tonight. Make his face to shine upon us. Be gracious unto us. Lift up the light of his countenance upon us and grant us his peace. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Good evening, everybody, and get home safely. Okay, so there's going to be there's a request for a little group photo, so let's, if we can, let's come together, take a little group photo quickly. I guess Miss Tracy is going to be the photo takeouter. All right.
Can you come real quick?
So.
Behind